Hey, good afternoon, Coach. Coach, I was wondering, when will you release the schedule? Did you have to make other arrangements since the virus situation?
Yeah, no, we did have to make other arrangements. We had the schedule set before the lockdown happened. Then we kind of were in a holding pattern until they figured it out. So now that they gave us the kind of the parameters we had to schedule with, we've come up with a schedule that we think is set. We've sent contracts out earlier this week, waiting to get them back. So I would hope in the next week or two we would have it. I mean, I think a few of them have kind of leaked out. Obviously the Maui deal and I think the Houston one maybe. But what we tried to do is maintain everything after the 25th as close to what we had scheduled previously. We had to adjust a little bit, so there will be a few adjustments in there. And what we ended up with, what do we got? 9 non-conference games. So SEC Big 12 Challenge is 1. The Maui deal is 3, so that takes us down to 5. So I think we've got the one series, I think 3 bye games, and then the neutral one over in Atlanta. So pretty quick. I mean, you guys can probably piece that together about probably 80-90% from right there. But I think we're waiting on some contracts to officially release everything.
Cecil, you're good to unmute yourself.
Hey, Coach, this is Cecil Hurt. How are you?
Doing great. I'm waiting for you to figure the video part of the Zoom out still, Cecil.
Yeah, you may have a long wait on that. My motivation level to do that. I do have a couple of questions, and the first one is just it's not quite the season starting, but it is the opening day of practice. And could you ever have foreseen on, I guess, March the 13th, 14th, sitting in the locker room at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, what the next 6 months, 7 months now, 7 months we're going to be like with the basketball program, with everybody's basketball program, but with yours in particular?
No, absolutely not. I mean, back then when they first canceled the SEC tournament, they were still talking about maybe playing the NCAA tournament. So then the season kind of got canceled. Well, then we were still anticipating being able to recruit maybe in the spring. Then spring gets canceled. We're still trying to recruit in July. I mean, it's just, if you go all the way back, however many months ago that was, 6, 7, 8 months ago, like, I don't think anybody anticipated it being quite like it's been. So to still be having to deal with all these different issues this far down the road from that was not foreseen. Lucky to be to the point we are now where hopefully we're going to play almost a full season. So hopefully we can pull it off and it'll look like a full season.
And have they given you any parameters on attendance yet? Do you know anything at all about if you'll have fans, when you'll have fans? Have they even addressed that yet?
You know what? I'm guessing they have it at an administrative level. I don't know anything about it. I think as of right now, it's be similar to football. I mean, you got to be probably the same percentages. So I'm guessing maybe based on how football goes and how numbers are, as we get closer, there'll be some adjustments made. But yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem. Thanks, Cecil.
All right, now over to Charlie Potter.
Hey, Coach. You're just talking about that first day of practice. What did you see out there, and what do you really want to see these first few official practices now that you're back fully on the court?
I mean, we're trying to make, so we didn't go yesterday. Yesterday was first official day you could go. You get 30 days of practice in the 42 days leading up to the game. So we calculate our 30 out. We typically go Monday, Tuesday, take Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, take Sunday off, et cetera. So we're going to maintain that pattern. So we took Wednesday off. We're going to go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. These first 3 days, we're really trying to get like an identity set, defense, blue collar, hard nose, toughness, a lot of defensive drills, rebounding drills, a lot of tougher stuff. CU wants to be tough. You know, our offense was good enough for us to compete at the top of the SEC last year. Our defense was lacking by a large margin. We got to get the defense fixed. We got to establish that mindset right out of the gate. So these first 3 days, that's what we're trying to do.
Jeff Tipton, over to you.
Yeah, Nate, I wondered how disruptive the COVID fluid situation it's been in terms of team bonding and everything that goes into this time of year preparing for a season?
Yeah, it's been a little frustrating. Typically we had done that retreat, last few years at Buffalo, and then last year here. That retreat was kind of canceled due to the COVID. We tried to do a similar type deal in-house where we didn't have to go away and sleep in the same, tight quarters and all that. They just stayed here, and we kind of got them up early and went for a few days back earlier in the fall. So kind of missed out on that. A lot of the meetings have been on Zoom. It's just not the same as meeting in person, as you guys right now. I mean, I'd rather be looking at you out here than having to do this deal on Zoom. It's a lot better communication when you're in person. So a lot of the team meetings have been via Zoom, which better than nothing, but still not being in person. So yeah, I think it's a little harder to build the team chemistry when you're not able to do as much stuff in person. Even locker rooms type stuff. We've had to split guys out, move this, have different type situations like that. They haven't been able to shower in the locker room. So it's, they kind of come in, change, practice, work out, get their stuff, go home. There's not the lounge area has been closed to the players. They haven't been able to hang out and play pool and shuffleboard and all that type of stuff. It's a lot of, it's not the greatest setting for building team chemistry, but the good thing is I think everybody's on a fairly level playing field, and we're kind of dealing with the same type of stuff everybody else is dealing with, and we're going to do the best we can with it.
Next question to Mike Rodak.
Yeah, Nate, obviously you've been dealing with the COVID protocols for a little while now, but how does yesterday's news with Nick Saban and Greg Byrne kind of bring it home for you guys? And just from a practical standpoint, how does it affect you and any contact you might have had with Greg recently?
Well, lucky for me, I got COVID back in July, so I don't have to worry about it really too much anymore. I maybe should have encouraged them to get it back with me in July, and we wouldn't be worrying about it right now. But I think I got it from my daughter, I guess 16-year-old daughter that was probably out and about a little bit that had it before I did. And so I don't have to worry too much about, technically I don't have to wear a mask. I try to wear a mask whenever I'm around people just to set the standard that, that's what we're going to do to kind of abide by everything. But so I don't have to worry about being around them personally myself, and I wasn't around them. I think it's unfortunate. Maybe the biggest football game in the SEC this year, and best coach in the SEC's maybe not going to be able to coach the game. That's unfortunate for everybody involved, in my opinion. So, I don't know what to say other than that. Hopefully they're both, as far as I've heard, they're fairly asymptomatic, I think. So hopefully they get through it here quickly and get back to doing their jobs. But yeah, when I got it, very asymptomatic. I wouldn't have known I was sick if they weren't testing healthy people, because the minor symptoms I had, I kind of just worked through and didn't even realize it was COVID. Had like a dull headache for a few days, which I literally worked right through until I got tested and realized that, because I had the headache when I was out of the state. I came back. When I got back in the state, I tested before I could work with the team, and that day I got back, the symptoms were gone, and I tested positive. So I personally don't have to worry too much about it anymore, but hopefully they're doing a lot better here.
Kirk, you're up with the next question.
Yes, Coach. You got 2-point guard we knew about, and then today we learned that Jalen Shackelford's working in there. I wonder how he does as point guard, and might have maybe 3, I guess.
You cut out. Yeah. You cut out a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you asked about our point guard situation and Shackelford playing a little bit at the point spot. Is that what you're asking about?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So what we've got, obviously Quinterly, that's who he is, what he does. Primo's a 6'6" combo guard that can definitely play the point. It's been great at it. Thought Herb Jones was maybe our second best point guard last year. So Herb, even though he's 6'8", can kind of play 1 through 4, 1 through 5, really, if you wanted to go small. So those 3 guys have been kind of key factors, at the point guard spot with us. Now, Primo's been a little bit injured, today was first official day of practice. We had this year we're gradually moving into official practice. We had the 12 hours a week for a few weeks, so it was 8 hours on the floor, 4 hours conditioning. In those 8 hours, we were able to get a lot in too. Primo had been out. He had a little minor injury, had been out a few weeks. So, we Quinterly was out a couple days. Herb had been in for the most part, but we've put other guys at the point, which I think helps their development. I talked to Shaq about this just this week. Him playing the point, even though he's not a point guard per se, he's more of a scoring guard, and he does that really, really well. I mean, he scores the ball as good as about anybody on the team. I think playing him at the point helped with some of his decision making, doing all that. If we need to play him there, we can. Look, if you play Herb there, you're gonna have to have a guy like Shaq guard the point guard going the other way anyways. So, we do have some options, probably not quite as many as we'd like, but I think Quinterly, Primo, Herb, Shaq, Keon Ellis, we played there some, has played it. So we do have some more options than we had last year for sure, but maybe still not quite as many as we'd like, but it's a lot better than it was last year.
Over to Tony Sakalas.
Yeah, Coach, Herbert Jones and actually a couple of his teammates too talked about his improved jump shot. I just wondered if you noticed that, and if you did, can you tell us a little bit about it?
No, he's been working his tail off the entire offseason. I mean, we had discussion. He put his name in a draft, got feedback, one of the best defenders in the country. I'm hoping he is the best defender in the country this year. I think he's got the capabilities to be. Offensively, he wasn't ready for the NBA. One of the big things is, people could sag off him so much. He only made 1 3 last year. So his work in the gym this summer and this fall and then every day moving forward is going to basically determine whether he's able to make millions of dollars or not. So if you come at it with that mindset, you figure out how much money you're making every day in the gym. That's a lot of money on the table. So he's spent a lot of time at it. I think he's looked much better. He's still obviously going to be a better driver than shooter. That's in his game. But, if he's just a capable shooter and can keep people honest, I think it'll help his game out. It'll help our game out. It'll help our spacing out. So he's markedly improved. Jordan Bruner made the comment in front of the team once, look, it's not to the point where Herb can make a shot anymore. No, Herb's a shooter now. So, when teammates are making comments like that, I think it gives him confidence. He keeps working at his game, and it's going to get better and better. And obviously, some days I think one day in practice he went like 5 for 6. Another day he may not hit one, but we don't need him to go 5 for 6 every day. We just need him to make enough to keep people honest so he can really get to what he does great.
William Galloway, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. With the turnover in guys and new faces and new players and the ability that they have and the length that they have, in terms of improving defensively, do you want to incorporate more in the full court, defensively, full court press?
You know what, we've talked about that a little bit. Also talked about a little bit of zone, just with all the length all over the place. Out of the gate, day 1, 2, 3, first week, first 2 weeks, we're going to get our man defense down as good as we can get it here early, set the tone. I still think that's the core of what we want to do, is be able to guard people man to man, and that be what your base is. Then after that, can you add a wrinkle here or there? I do think it makes some sense to put some type of zone in with, we had the other day in one of our workouts, you had a lineup out there with, I think, Chiku, Herb Jones, John Petty, Bruner, and Alex Reese. That's like 6'10", 6'10", 6'11", 6'8", 6'5". That's some length all over the place. I didn't purposely do it. All of a sudden you looked out there and you realize that's the 5 guys on the same team on the floor, and shoot, that's some length out there. Defensively, you put that out in a zone, it looks a lot more like a Syracuse zone, than what maybe we were able to do before. So I think it does make some sense, even in a full court. I think we could put some pressure on some guys. JQ's more than capable of getting up into guys, being disruptive. I think Keon Ellis, you've got some long athletic wings, and you got some rim protection too. Bruner, Chiku, they're a lot better protecting the rim if you do get into a pressing type situation. So we'll look at it a little bit. It's not going to be the core of what we do, though.
These will be the final 2 questions. We'll start off with James Fletcher.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask, you guys have, like you mentioned, a lot of new faces around the program, quite a few from that Canadian pipeline now, and then Chiku, of course. How much is there kind of that camaraderie among that group? And then also, is there any French spoken on the court now that wasn't there last season?
Listen, I think all of our guys get along pretty well. I mean, the 3 foreign guys, you know, they've all played basketball in the U.S. for the last couple of years, so they've been here. You know, Canadians obviously speak English, so there's not, you know, they've got an accent, kind of like I guess I've got an accent coming from the north, you know, just a little bit different English accent. They call Chiku Frenchie, like F-R-E-N, what is it, C-H-T-I, kind of like T-C-H-I, or maybe T-C-H-I, Frenchie, like F-R-E-N-T-C-H-I, like his last name, Chiku, but that's how it is. But so Frenchie, as they kind of nicknamed him, he's got a little stronger accent. He's great. All the guys love him. Like, funny kid, great personality. I think those guys all get along well, but, you know, you throw in those 3 freshmen with Darius Miles, who's a great kid and easy to get along with. They hang out a little bit. They get along well on the floor. I don't know any French personally. I did hear some of our guys, you know, the more guys into education and history were informing Frenchie that the U.S. had to bail them out in a world war or something, I think. So I heard some talk about that going on with a few of our guys the other day. So there's some friendly banter back and forth on that type of stuff.
And we'll wrap things up with Tyler Martin.
Hey, Coach, how's it going? I was just curious. I know last year depth was an issue, right? I mean, James and Jawan had injuries before the season, and then Javon with his waiver situation. Now, I mean, I know it was just the first practice today, but how much as a coach are you looking forward to distributing the minutes? I know some of that is based on matchups, but when you look at just the rotation you guys will probably have and how deep it is, how much are you looking forward to distributing that out as a coach?
That's one of the things you don't look forward to that much, to be honest with you, because when you're deep, everybody gets fewer minutes than they want. But it's a great problem to have because there's pressure on everybody to perform. Last year, if you didn't give us the effort we needed, you look on the bench, and a lot of times there wasn't really another option. Like, you're begging them to play. This year, like, you can sit next to us if you don't want to give us a winning effort. You know, I think there's going to be some, which makes everybody better, to be honest with you. You know, when you've got to compete against really good players every day in practice, it's going to make you better. When you know that you've got to bring it or you're just not going to play, makes everybody better. So I think it's going to be good. Now, Jawan's still not able to do too much. Everybody else was in today for the most part. Some guys were limited, a couple drills here and there based on some things we wanted them to avoid happening. But, you know, 12 out of 13 scholarship guys went through probably 90% of the practice. So the health looks great. Hopefully we can continue to stay healthy. We don't have any type of waiver situation this year, so we may have, you know, based on what happens in the next 6 weeks, 13 scholarship players available to play, which would be great. Now, we're not going to have a 13-man rotation come game time, but non-conference, we may be playing 10, 11, 12 guys. As you move towards conference play, you know, in January or into December now, I think that rotation's got to get shrunk a little, whether it gets shrunk to 8, 9, 10, but you're not going to play 11, 12, 13 guys once you get into conference play. So I think it's going to help us. It's going to be valuable in a lot of ways, but no, I'm not looking forward to having to tell a really good player they're only going to play. You know, I'm not going to tell them. It's just going to kind of happen in the game. But, you know, somebody that's really good that probably last year would have played 30 to 35 minutes may only get 20, 25 minutes this year. But it's better for the team, and they're going to have to play hard and use the minutes they get and do a great job in them. So looking forward to using the depth, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
That concludes today's